Hello, my name is Dr. Arthur McClinu. I've dedicated my life to providing surgical care to patients with heart disease. My life began in the slums of Soweto in South Africa, where I learned to overcome adversity and illnesses, including the death of my best friend. That's why I want to be a resource for you and your family for consultation related to heart and cardiovascular needs. You can learn more about me by visiting my website, which is at zuluchaskada.com.
Thank you. Welcome to the Roland GRIMES, not just sports and entertainment show. I'm your host, Roland Bubba Grimes, and we're recording live here at the Society Lounge in Silver Spring, Maryland. And if you would join me in putting your hands together for my esteemed co-host for this segment, ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Helms Fitness Center, Inc., here in the Washington, D.C. area, Mr. Eugene Helms.
Thank you, Roland. How you doing?
Man, I'm terrific. I'm trying to find some shirts that I can make French cuffs like you do. All right, but they stopped cutting them at like 37 sleeves, man. So I got to call a fashion designer and get some made. But having said that, man, I got this dude sitting next to me, this guy sitting next to me that wears like a 39 sleeve, and it's a beautiful thing to figure out how to get in how he gets in his clothes. But he'll tell us about it a little bit later, ladies and gentlemen. This young man has a storied basketball career, started in the Baltimore area with the world-renowned Dunbar High School under then-coach Bob Wade. He then took his act to Georgetown University and played for the Georgetown Hoyas National Championship basketball team in 1984. Then he was drafted into the National Basketball Association. He's going to tell us who he played with and how long in a few minutes. In the meantime, folks, put your hands together for my guest, Mr. Reggie Williams.
Thank you.
All right, just in case we looked a little dark at that first segment, my makeup or whatever is because the light wasn't on, so my technician just took care of that. I hope we look a little prettier right now. Reggie, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey folks,
Thank you.
this is an historic occasion. I think this is the first time in the history of Big East sports that a Syracuse Orangeman is actually in a friendly relationship on the set with a Georgetown Hoya. Typically, we just don't vibe together like this, but because we play different sports, I figured that we could get through this without tearing anything up. Reggie, welcome, man.
Thank you, Roland.
Reggie, look, I'm gonna go back real quick and I'm going to fill in some blanks. Everybody talks about the NBA like it's this great mythical endeavor that every kid in the world needs to go to, their mom and daddy wants them to go to it, etc. However, you had a chance to experience life in the National Basketball Association. What are some of the things you learned from that lesson that you like to pass on to some other people?
Well, I like to, I tell young kids, I've been working with young kids since I left professional basketball, and it's a life for adults, you know what I mean? And a lot of young kids, you know, coming through the league and not prepared for that league because they're getting into a lot of trouble or they're spending their money, they're not money managing on what they have. So it's a different kind of life. It's a life that you got to be disciplined in.
Now, how did you get adjusted to it, or how long did it take you to get adjusted to being a grown-up? Because you finished your all 4 years
Yes,
at
I finished all 4 years,
Okay.
graduated with sociology degree.
Okay. How long did it take you to adjust to adulthood in the NBA?
Well, we had a whole lot of guys who went before me.
Yes.
Patrick Ewing, Billy Martin, Gene Smith, Sleepy Floyd, Bebe Dorn. And, you know, I kind of asked them questions about it. And when I came along, they had programs for drafted rookies coming in Dallas. It was a seminar where they taught you how to deal with the finances, how you deal with people who come at you different ways, different women. It was a good program. It lasted 4 days, and it educates a lot of us.
Okay, super.
So, the educational piece as far as you leaving from Georgetown, going to the NBA, what would you say was the biggest obstacle that you had to endure going to the NBA, leaving Georgetown?
The biggest obstacle, I think, just being on my own. You know, I never had an apartment, I never had a car, I didn't drive in college, and that was the biggest transition. It was just being, you know, becoming a grown-up. Just like I said before, that, you know, I was under my mother's wing, I was under my coach's wing, and then I got out on my own, and it was the first time, so it was a difficult transition.
Now I'm going to tell you, man, I jest you a lot, I joke with you, but honestly speaking, I really was a big fan of yours and a big fan of your career. I was actually playing football at Syracuse when you were coming to the Dome to play. And of course, man, you guys posted up with my good friend, Wendell Alexis and Howard Trish, Andre Hawkins, I think, was just
Pearl
coming
Washington.
out. Pearl Washington. You know, Gene Waldron, I think, was just
Gene
coming through.
Yeah.
And it was just a classy endeavor to watch, both in person and on television, man, how competitive you guys were, but you also seem to have a lot of respect for one another as men and as athletes. Did I get the wrong impression?
No, you got the right impression, Roland. When we went out there to compete, we competed. After the game, especially when the guys went along to the next level, like the NBA, we went out to dinner. We had a lot of fun. But you know, when you're in that combat, that war zone, you out there to take them out. You know, and that's what I loved about the Big East when it was the real Big East. And I think it's coming back. That we competed hard, but we also were friends afterwards. Man,
it was classic. And of course, Big John and Jim having that little tete-a-tete during that time helped it a lot. Eugene, we're going to get another question in, and then I'm going to take a station break. My timekeeper is letting me know that we're running our miles too much.
We're out of time. Let me ask you this. Now, since the teams and the leagues are changing, as far as going to Big East and Big Ten, what are your thoughts about that? Do you since you're going to lose some of those rivalries, those big time rivalries throughout the tournament, what's your take on that as far as?
Well, it's gonna be different. When you don't see Georgetown playing Syracuse, or I think some other teams are going different places, but it's going to be a change. But it's still going to be the Big East. They're going to have to add some quality teams in there. You still have Villanova, you still have St. John, Pittsburgh, Georgetown, teams that really don't have big-time football, and I think the teams that have big-time football are the teams that are leaving.
Right, because Pittsburgh's leaving.
Yeah,
so you have St. John, Seton Hall.
Seton Hall, Seton Hall. I'm sorry, yeah. Right. So those teams who have big football programs are pretty much leaving, but it's still going to be a good conference.
Well, look, when we come back, we're going to talk about where Reggie Williams is now and where he's going, and then we're going to go back a little bit after that. When we return to the Roland Grimes Not Just Sports Entertainment Show, sit tight, we'll be right back. A good friend of mine out there told me every time I give them the cue, I scare the bejeebers out of her. So I'm trying to do it with my inside. With my inside. Good luck with that. Today, where's Reggie Williams now? What is he doing?
Well, I was coaching high school basketball for 7 years, and now I'm looking to get an opportunity in college. That was my goal. I did my time in high school. I had a great time with the kids, developing them, and now I'm looking to do something else.
Now, if you go to the college ranks, now you have to move around a little bit. Who knows whether you want to be in the area you're living in now, or you're going to have to road travel, because you're recruiting depending on how depending on what level of coaching you do. Are you prepared for that? Are the kids out of the nest? I mean, if you have everybody taken with you, how are you positioned for that now?
Well, it's a perfect time. I just had one left in high school, he's a senior, and that's what I plan to do after he left. That's why I stayed so long in the high school system, just to see my son graduate from high school. So I'm in a pretty good position right now.
Right, that's great. Good to hear. College ranks. So Eugene, now you have done some coaching, and Reggie Williams, for whatever reason, and God only knows why, he wants to continue to coach. Now, how much different is the college ranks, guys, compared to the high school ranks in terms of mental involvement, faculty involvement, administrative influence, all of those things that go into teaching, preaching, and coaching through high school, and how much this is different when you get to the college ranks? And both of you guys can kind of answer that as a little
I'm going to tell you, one of the things that when you're in the high school ranks, you're going to have your parents that's going to be there. That's when I say, put my son, put my daughter in.
But you want to learn sport, right?
Exactly. But you have to understand this too. When you go from JV to varsity, you got varsity players that are looking to get college scholarships. And they're only going to award those scholarships to the best student athlete out there during that time. And not only are they going to look at your players, they're going to look at players around the whole entire United States. So, as a coach, your job is to put the best product on the field to be successful. It's not about you. That's why it's called a team. Unless you play tennis or golf, it's about a teamwork. So,
wait a minute, but everybody can't play. Everybody can't do it. If you have 12 guys on the team, you mean to tell me you can't play all 12 of them equal time and everybody get a trophy?
No, that don't work.
That's not the way the game is built.
It's not how the game is played. You try to put the best product in certain things, and you have to put the best product on the board at all times. Some guys are not being that skilled. Even though they are varsity, I mean, you can look at colleges, you can look at professionals. Some professionals don't get in. So, parents, we want their support, but we don't want them to tell us how to coach. How many minutes their kids should get, because it never will work. If that parent interfere with your program, you won't have your program.
Yeah, you're a parent of an athlete.
Yes.
How much interference?
None at all, because I always put it back on my kid. I always tell my kid, make that coach need you. Do the things that you have to do to get better in the summertime. Every time my kid, my sons come trying to me, I say, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for that coach lately? You always got to make that coach need you. You got to have a skill that, hey, if you're a shooter, you shoot. If you're a defender, you defend. So I always tell my kid, always have a skill that a coach needs you to put you in the game.
One of the things too that a lot of parents don't understand is that although this is a sport, this is also a business. And if you're at a job and you're not doing what you're supposed to do, what's going to happen to you? You're going to get fired. And people don't understand when you're playing a sport, it's the highest you can go to. Your guys make $6, $7, $8 off of playing a ball. Basketball, football. Okay.
But as a parent, I'm going to put my child into your personal training program when he's like 6 months old. Okay? And then I'm going to spend all this money. I'm going to send him to every camp that this joker went to growing up. Some of them he got invited to and they have to pay. And early on, we send them to camps. They play ball year round, especially basketball, AAU, all day, every day. They're in 3 or 4 leagues sometime at one time. Now I have all of this time and money invested in this child. You mean to tell me you didn't have the right as a coach to say, with all that you put into this child development, of course, this AAU coaches tell me, that coach doesn't know what he's doing, you should be playing because you're good. After all of that, you guys have the audacity to tell me that my child, for whatever reason, should be playing.
Well, you have to evaluate the kid. That's why the coach. That's why you are a coach. You evaluate their talent. You have other talented kids there, and you put the best product on the court. You only can play 5 at a time, and most of the time you have an 8 or 9 man rotation. So if he's good enough to get there, then he will play. But if he's not, he has to wait his time.
The other thing too is that I know when I play college, when I play professional, there's only 3 words all the coach would ask when they recruit, when they scout is that can he play? Can she play? Because everything else doesn't matter. If you can't play, where you going to go? No matter how much exercise you do as far as getting the training, no matter how fast you are, no matter how agile you are, if you can't play that sport on a high level consistently, you're not going to get in there and seize the opportunity because we have other guys that we have to.
Right, politics does kick in. Now, sometimes it's the coach's pet, sometimes it's the coach's child, sometimes the coach's dating the mom. I know y'all don't think I said that. So there are politics that enter into it. It's not being naive. But when politics enter into it, what do you guys do?
You have to stick on. A Hall of Fame coach told me you have to be true to yourself.
Who was that coach?
Larry Brown. Larry Brown. He was a legendary college coach, legendary professional coach, and then he was back in college at the age of 7. And he told me you have to be true to yourself. You can't worry about what this person say, that person say. You have to believe in what you do. And that's the only way you can succeed.
All right, folks. Deep talk, deep thinking. Here we go. We're coming back to close out with legendary Georgetown Hoya, Mr. Reggie Williams. I'm Roland GRIMES. We'll be back very shortly. Sit tight. Thank you. Hey, folks, in case y'all didn't notice, my prestigious crowd out there missed the cue as we were leaving. They didn't clap for us. And that's the first time in 100 shows that ever happened. So I'm having a complex right now. So I know what happens when, I know, right? So I know what happens when a Grambling Tiger and a Georgetown Hoya sits on my set. People get mesmerized and they forget to clap. But this is the Roland GRIMES, not just sports entertainment show, with Eugene Helms and Mr. Reggie Williams. Reggie, now, Georgetown University is a historically prestigious, primarily Caucasian institution.
Yeah.
Right about the late 70s, Craig Shelton, Bebe Dorn, some other guys who traveled in some of the same circles that I grew up in were all of a sudden going to Georgetown. Now many of us saw the ESPN 3030 report about the Fab Five at Michigan and how much some of the people who are staunch Michigan fans did not like the presentation they were getting from the Fab Five, and the same thing with UNLV, and the same thing with the Miami Hurricanes football team. From your perspective, as best as you can answer this for us, what happens when you have this integration of culture with these young black men who are coming from these urban environments into these traditionally, historically Caucasian institutions, and then trying to play basketball and deal with that cultural integration? How difficult is it? How easy is it? Or did you experience some of the same kind of whiplash that the guys did at Miami, Michigan, etc.?
Well, a good question, Roland. I think that the way we dealt with it at Georgetown, Coach Thompson dealt with a whole lot of it. He the one implemented that Hoya paranoia. When we went on the road, we stayed away.
You had a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, had a chip on his shoulder. I mean, from the times he grew up, but we didn't care about it. But he had made that big masquerade, and people didn't understand why he was doing it. But he also was disciplined. I don't think those other programs were disciplined like we were. You know, the Fab Five, they were doing their own thing. It was like more individuality. Miami was pretty much the same, but Georgetown, we all, you know, it wasn't really no stars. You know, it was a team, and that's what Thompson. That's what he wanted to get out of this thing, and you know, and we kind of was, you know, as a group, we thought we were missing out on all the fun, but everybody stayed out of trouble. It wasn't nobody in the newspaper, wasn't nobody committing crime, so that's how we did it.
You know what, I'm hip to that, but so he balanced it out and sheltered you guys, or insulated you from a lot of that.
He took the hit.
By the way, and he took the hit. I mean, you can go look back at this thing, and none of the players never took a hit. Because well, I know we threw oranges at you guys when I came to the stadium.
That's for beating y'all up like that.
But we didn't hit you, huh?
Yeah, you didn't hit.
Right, next time you come out.
So, you know, when you come in as a freshman, if you come in August, you can't talk to the media until January. And the reason Thompson did that is because he said you didn't know about the school. You didn't even know what you was coming into. So you had to learn about the school, the people who you're dealing with. And then January the 1st, you can talk to the media and you can explain and talk about, you know, what you need to talk about.
Because then you're not clipped by these questions and looking like an idiot because you looking ignorant, because you are ignorant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now, how did you guys, well, I hate to say how did you feel about it, but how did you guys feel about it?
Because, you know, coming from, you know, predominantly black school, we didn't want to really talk to these media people anyway. We didn't want that Mike and Alfred. We wanted to play basketball.
Exactly.
So it was right up our line. So Thompson protected us from a whole lot of
things that you really didn't want to deal with.
Yeah, we didn't want to deal with anyway. Yeah, we didn't want to deal with that anyway. So, but when it was time, when that January 1st, then the reporters they knew the rules. You know, you could not talk to a freshman until January 1st. And that was up our line. We used to finish the game and we'd be the first one dressed and we'd be on the bus. So we loved it from that aspect.
Now, the one question I have is that compare and contrast, okay? We compare and contrast between Coach Wade, Coach Thompson. Likes, dislikes, as far as basketball, game of life.
Contracts as far as money? Contract?
No, contrast. In other words,
contrast.
What were some of the differences and similarities between Coach Wade and Coach Thompson?
The similarities where they were both tough. There wasn't a whole lot of contrast. They were tough.
Demanding guys?
The demanding guys. They wanted excellence. They wanted execution. They wanted the guys, even though, you know, sometimes, you know, in the media, you know, you always get the black players or the black athletes as being athletes, but the white players always the smart. We had a combination of both, smart and athletic. So that's why we went a long way. We didn't, you know, when it was time to execute, it was time to execute. When it was time to run, it was time to run. So I played with two guys who instilled that in us. You know, you have to be smart. You have to be, be aggressive. You got to be patient. You got to be passionate, and that's what I learned from both of those guys.
Now, did you both win and lose a national championship game?
Yes, 84 we won, and 85 we lost to Villanova by 2.
Now, 84, was it Houston?
Houston, yes.
Okay. Now, where was that game played?
The Houston game was played in Seattle, the Kingdom.
Yes, okay. Now, what is the biggest difference between winning a national championship and losing a national championship?
There's a big difference. You know, you come home, you get the confetti on you when you win. You know, that second place is a bad feeling. And when we lost, Coach Thompson made us stand out there and clap for Villanova, and that was the hardest thing we had to do as players. Really? You know, but it showed class that, you know, we didn't run into the locker room. He made everybody stay out there and clap for him until their presentation was over. So, you know, it was disappointing. You know, it's still a game that I can't watch 25 years later.
Well, no, I watched it. I watched it, and I rooted for both of you. And I think Raleigh Massimino was the coach of Villanova. But you say, now, let me reverb this tape here and make sure I understand what you just said. 25 years later, it's still a game that's tough for you to watch?
Yeah, it's still tough because, you know, we came into the game, we wanted to win that game, and we should have won that game.
Exactly.
And the shot clock came into play the following year, and we kind of look at it, if that shot clock wasn't there, they wouldn't have been able to hold that ball like that. And you know, that's probably one of the reasons they brought that shot clock in. And it still painful today that a lot of the players, you know, Patrick, who was on that 85 team, can't watch that game. You know, that was our game, that was our title, and you know, that's how we felt.
But dude, you just won one the year before. What are you, greedy?
Yeah. When it comes to that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
And
fair
we
answer.
wanted that. You know, we worked hard to get in that position, and you know, we wanted that. We wanted that
Man, that's
championship.
beautiful.
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this. Now, you have a lot of players that were going from high school to the NBA. They changed it up. And they saying now you have to be there for a year. Do you think it's fair to tell a young man that he has to stay in school for a year to play, to go somewhere? Because realistically speaking, when you break it down, they're saying that year because they want, or the NCAA wants to get money out of this player because they know that they're an all-star attraction. The schools know that they're an all-star attraction. But they have to stay that 1 year before they leave. How come they just can't go from high school, and do you agree upon that rule change?
Well, I think if they're good enough, they should be able to go. I don't think they. I think if they go to college, I think they should go for 2 years and not 1 year.
Okay.
And you know, it's kind of deplete the college game a little bit, but it comes back. There's so many great athletes in this country that it's still, you know, it's still sometimes to me it's the best game played. You know, even though I play professional, but it's more energetic. The fans more in it. You don't have to look at empty gyms like in professional basketball, especially, you know, when a professional basketball, football, or whatever is losing, you don't get nobody at those games. And but college, you know, these kids still come in and support their program.
I guess I'm looking at it from this situation where if I'm a top prospect coming out of high school, and like we said earlier in the segment, it's a business.
Yeah.
So if I know that I would be projected high in the first round going to the NBA, but then I go into my first two years and I get a torn ACL. Now, if I came from a family where I'm trying to support, by me playing those 2 years, I know that if I didn't play those 2 years, because of how the NCAA has it set up, I could have played 1 year where I could have got some money for some stability. Where does that leave me?
Well, they not looking at that, you know, as an institution. Okay. Now everything is based on a team GPA. It was an individual GPA now.
You're right.
Now there's a team, so they go about the kid with the highest GPA. You know, you need a couple of 3.5, 4.0s, and then you can have those 2 O's at the bottom.
To
now
balance it out.
to balance it out now. So if you know, that's why, you know, I'm an advocate of, you know, you can leave, you know, right after high school, because if you know, I feel that if you're going to college, I think you still need to go there because, you know, it's still about academics. You know, getting your degree. You know, a lot of kids who come out early don't never finish. You know,
And Georgetown really didn't have a reputation for guys leaving early.
You know,
Exactly.
nobody.
AI was one of the first ones, right?
Yeah, that was the first one.
He was the first one.
He was the first one.
In the John Thompson
Yeah,
era.
that was the first one.
Yeah, because I remember, because I kept wishing that they would just leave.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't go.
Was Victor Page?
Yeah, Victor. That was
another story.
That's another story.
That's
That's
another
another
story. That's a whole nother story. Hey, folks. Roland Grimes, Not Just Sports Entertainment Show with my main road dog, Mr. Eugene Helms, my new friend, Georgetown Hoya great, NBA, legend of the game, Mr. Reggie Williams. Reggie, man, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Roland.
All right, I heard great things about you. I'm glad I had a chance to see you up close and personal again. Because you did beat my team in 84, 85, and I'm still mad at you, but that's a whole other thing. I don't worry about it. Life goes on.
Yeah, life goes on.
Yeah, that's what you said. I still can't watch that game 25 years later.
Yeah, I can't.
Roland Bubba Grimes, on his way out. God bless. Take care.
Thank you guys, baby.